about making an authentic apology and what happens when we feel more comfortable to sweep things under the rug. I've witnessed this in my own family, and I've witnessed this in the collective of the differences between the individual who's willing to take the larger risk to have the deeper conversation, to try to get to the heart of the matter as authentically and as comprehensively as they possibly can in that moment. Authentic apologies are difficult. And in fact, I was just watching a Dark Horse podcast that I'll link below, where Brett and Heather, husband and wife, were discussing this element of apology. They were referring to elements of the coronavirus pandemic that had happened, but I was just thinking about listening to them in the ways in which all of us have this opportunity within relationship, and it immediately revealed to me the ways in which I myself or others or people I love or family or friends or collectively, I've witnessed how people go about being wrong and then admitting that, not admitting that, sweeping it under the rug, the process that goes on to be able to find an authentic, deep resolution for both sides is a process. It's not as cut and dry as somebody who's willing to go there and somebody who's not willing to go there. I've experienced this within my own life, and because of the inner work that I have committed to within myself and the degree of authenticity I want to show up with, I have to make sure that I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And I haven't always done a good job at this because with being completely open and honest about something you've done, whether that be wrong or not, it requires self-risk. It requires a level of you to be seen differently. It requires a level of you facing reputational barriers. It requires you facing ways in which you've created and cultivated a persona that's now going to challenge people's external realities or inner realities of how they actually think about you. I have discovered that within myself, that if I'm going to do something, I know that there's a cause and effect relationship to what that is that I'm going to do. And maybe if I'm deciding to do something where I don't clearly have a clear vision on how I'm going to move forward with it and realizing there could be negative implications, sometimes it takes a while. And in my past, sometimes it's taken a long while to really discern how I can face the truth of the matter, also being willing to face the implications or the effects of those causes that I'm participating in. Most recently, I had a circumstance where this exact thing kind of played out, and I was willing to be authentic and be truthful as deeply and richly as I possibly could in that moment, and still looking at the entirety of the abstract picture. And this is where I believe we get stuck in these two dichotomies of I'm willing to go there with my apology, or can we just sweep this under the rug and get back to normal because this is really confronting to me and I definitely am not ready to face the downstream implications if I'm completely honest with you. And you see this play out a lot in families, and there always seems to be one individual, maybe it's the scapegoat or the black sheep or whoever it is, who wants to face the truth, who wants to go into the depth of let's unravel this. It's not going to be pretty, but it's necessary to cultivate a deeper, more intimate, more real and authentic relationship or group dynamic. I know that you guys watching this probably all know and understand what I'm talking about. I don't think this is exempt from any family unit or any relationship. I have come to realize as of most recently that these issues and tensions that are arising within various aspects of our culture and society is It's almost as though the individuals who have swept things under the rug, it's like the dust bunny has gotten too big and now it's coming for you. It's like eventually you can't outrun God, so to speak. And dealing honestly with complex situation takes a level of courage, and there's a lot of risk, and there's a lot of potential of reorienting completely aspects of what you had shown up as in the world, your persona. But then there's also, other structural implications that could break down. Your entire life could break down. Something like very similar to this happened to me. So when faced with an opportunity to be honest, right? You can't get caught in the mental minutia of, oh my gosh, like this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, because immediately most people are going to feel very overwhelmed. And it's not until there's a compression state or there's too much dust built up, or like there's been a length of time where we've avoided the truth, to where an individual finally looks themselves in the mirror and will say, I can't survive this anymore. I can't live this way anymore. I have to face myself, right? Something else that I heard that I thought was really interesting was in a discussion on the last Wisdom podcast. They did a little movie interviewing different people, and John Vervaeke was on there, and he said, there's a difference between lying to yourself and bullshitting yourself. And I thought this was kind of interesting. And he had proceeded to say, when you lie to yourself, you know it, and it's very obvious. But there's a proclivity towards exponential growth when you can bullshit yourself, right? Because you can just keep cultivating story on top of story on top of story on top of story, believing it because that's what you so desperately want, or that's the reality, the persona that you want to project. So I thought that was just very interesting, because when you lie to yourself, you know it and it stops right there. But when you bullshit yourself, sometimes you can just build mountains with your own bullshit, right? So being honest with yourself is first and foremost important. And we've cultivated a society, as we all know, where technology has gone exponential and so many things have improved, but it's also getting a little peculiar with aspects of technology as well. But we've, at the expense, I believe, at the true expense of a self-developed conscious society, to the degree where having a relationship with two people is like virtually impossible for such a large portion of the population, honestly. Like we can't even face ourselves, epidemics of depression and anxiety, and we can't have a relationship with someone else, yet alone a group dynamic, because now all work culture is toxic. So I just wanted to bring this up because I tend to lean into these aspects that are overlooked, swept under the rug, underdeveloped, started to become devalued, right? This stuff that lives between these big points in time is like, if you look at it like a road, right? And there's roadblocks along the way. Some people just want to go from one end to the other and just hop over all of these important bits insofar as our own personal development, our relational development. It's, just trying to become a better and more authentic human being, evolving as a human being. It's like we've gotten to this point where the technology is being created to just completely bypass the self work and the inner work. And to me, I think that this is going to eventually turn around and come back to bite us in the butt, which I think it already has, because we're missing something. We're missing a crucial element of life and existence, is the inner work and the process of being honest with yourself, going there, taking the necessary risks, doing the right thing. And rather than building the reputation bigger, the ego bigger, more material things, more externalization of technology to get us there quicker. And if I'm depressed, I only want to take a pill. I don't want to do the work. Like we're bypassing so much that space, that middle space between two significant points is stirring. Feels to me like there's the dust, like, and it's like particles starting to move in the field, and it's yearning and aching to be heard and understood because there's such a richness of potential evolutionary material there. And we can't overlook it. We're not going to be able to escape being authentic and getting real to heal with technology. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen, you know? So I just wanted to share that, you know, the immense risk that it sometimes takes to really be honest about the things we've done or the mistakes we've made, and to realize that at some point all of the things that we either unconsciously or willfully, the willful part is the dangerous territory where you know it's wrong and you're running all around the point of that choice point of just dealing with it, right? All of that is going to eventually come around, and we're going to have to face it. We're going to have to face it. Right? They say God is the ultimate judge. And that's another thing is, some people, it seems as though they'll take their issues and problems to the grave. They're so afraid. They don't want to disrupt their reputation or disrupt their life, or they feel they can't handle it, or they're afraid of what they're going to lose. But at some point, I believe here or there, right? We're gonna be judged on what we're doing, and we have to start to become conscious and responsible right here and right now by not hopscotching over those really important, crucial little points that where in that moment, I should maybe deal with this, but I think it's going to be easier if I just kind of sweep it under the rug, because those dust bunnies, I think they're unhappy, and they're coming back to get us. So be willing to face the risk. A couple of times in my life, I literally had to risk losing everything about my reputation, my persona, my finances, my health. Like literally, there were several times where I had to risk it all to align with what was actually right for me. And I think this is the fear that we live in. The fear is, we cultivate so many roots and so much around us materially that we get afraid to deconstruct because it'd just be so much. But I do believe in my experience that when I had my deconstructing processes where everything was breaking down, it looked chaotic, but amongst that chaos was some sort of order that was going on beyond my comprehension. And I had to develop a sense of faith and trust that it was gonna work its way through, and what was truly meant for me and aligned for me was gonna stay. And that which shook out wasn't meant to be for me to begin with. So this concept of my action and my will to do what's right, but then when you really do what's right and you're losing, it appears to be you could lose it all. You got to step up your faith and your trust, and a connection with the transcendent. I mean, I wouldn't be here today doing what I'm doing if it weren't for my trust and faith in God, coupled with my action and coupled with my desire to be authentic and face the hard things. It's both. That's what I believe is what we need to step and lean into a little bit more.